right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our annual Offsite commencement ceremony. Can you guys hear me? Can you please give me a nice thumbs up in the emojis or visually? That's totally cool. Awesome. Fantastic. It's a pleasure to have you here at Offsite. My name is Hector Silva, and it's my pleasure to invite you into our unique design community today. This is a haven for creativity, growth, and an integral part of a truly transformative venture, the reimagining of design education. We're thrilled to have you here with us, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at. Today, we gather to celebrate our students, our spring and summer cohort at this special ceremony. To think that Offsite was started on this very day 5 years ago is nothing short of amazing. These two documents here remind me of our humble beginnings. The one on the left was a very playful experiment where we brainstormed names for the program. We were even close to calling this thing the cult. So that's kind of funny. The one on the right is a little more serious, almost a spiritual tone here. As we begin asking ourselves the bigger questions like, what do we need? How do we turn this idea into something real? And when we first publicly announced Offsite, we did it in a way that really stirred the pot. Instead of making a big statement, we asked the question, what did you hate most about design school? And oh boy, did the answers come flooding in. And that conversation led us to create 5 incredible courses. Each one was carefully designed and intentionally crafted to answer the original question, what is traditional design academia missing? Our goal wasn't just to hand out degrees, but it was to prepare students for real jobs, real skills, and real opportunities. And through it all, our students, while finding comfort and friendships in our community online, still long to see each other in person. It's funny to look back now, the masks, the way we saw people wearing them even outside. Really true, really wild times. In the past 5 years, over 800 students from more than 30 countries have come through Offsite. We've been fortunate to have 400 incredible mentors generally give their time and 15 dedicated instructors through 15 cohorts. If there's one thing this journey has shown us is that diversity truly is our greatest power. Since then, we've refined and enhanced our programming, simplifying cohort names and make everything more straightforward and streamlined and easier to understand. Our programming now consists of 3 different tiers. First, we have Offsite Students, when we have Offsite Pro, tailored for students with prior experience who are seeking an advanced education. And lastly, we have Offsite Plus, an a la carte option that allows you to choose and take any class that fits your needs. Despite these changes, the core of Offsite remains the same. We continue to provide an outstanding educational experience, foster a vibrant community with strong support, and our students still producing incredible design work. Our students are achieving remarkable things, applying what they've learned to bring their ideas to life. And in those 5 years, our students have really elevated their work in countless ways, whether it is by deepening their knowledge of manufacturing and business, sharpening how they communicate ideas, refining their sense of composition, learning to observe and articulate objects, or mastering how to visualize their designs and bring them to life. And this is just a glimpse of the work that's coming out of Offsite. I wish I could show you more. And if you were part of the Offsite community, you'd see it firsthand. What sets these students apart is their hunger. They wanted more than anyone else, and that's really the difference. The curriculum here at Offsite is meticulously crafted to reflect the current industry landscape, ensuring that all of the knowledge you gain aligns with real-world design practices. Now, we're going to turn our attention to our instructors. Offsite wouldn't be possible without their incredible dedication. These visionaries lead by example and are deeply committed to the success of our students. These exceptional educators excel not just in preparing you for industry, but are also active designers and leaders in their respective fields. With the collective experience of a tortoise, our instructors deliver excellence without holding back. We asked some of our instructors to reflect on the last 5 years and answer very specific questions about their experiences as instructors at Offsite. Pay close attention to the questions I asked them, and I wanted our instructors to reflect on their experiences teaching at Offsite for the past 5 years, and their answers were nothing short of wonderful. So here we go.
Hey everyone, my name is Michael DiTullo, and I teach the Design and Business course for Offsite, as well as being an industrial design consultant with 27 years of experience working with C-level executives at some of the biggest global brands. The way I would describe Offsite in one word is unparalleled. And I would say that because there's no other place you can really get this information. There's no other course where you can get instructors, access to instructors who are subject area experts and working professionals who are really teaching you things based on our own experiences, our own mistakes. And honestly, 25 years ago, if an offsite existed, it might have saved me some time on my path to becoming a successful professional. So in one word, I would describe Offsite as unparalleled.
Hello, Offsiders. My very favorite thing about being a part of Offsite is getting to hear from you all. I do a lot of talking at you through this camera, but the parts that are the very best for me is when I get to see what's inside your minds and really get to understand more about your worlds, right? We're all coming from different contexts, and I love hearing about what you're going through, good or bad. This comes to life with the mood board assignment in identity, formerly known as professional self-presentation. I love seeing all the different ways that you will all bring your personal brands to life. And in methods, I love the first round of concepting, where you're coming up with all sorts of crazy ideas. But I tell you, there's no bad ideas, right? And just the kind of connections that you make and the creativity you bring. You are all so great. You make my life so much better for getting to hang out with you. And congratulations.
How do I see Offsite shaping the design industry? Well, one of the unique things I think about Offsite is we attract people who are younger, people who are eager, people who are hungry, who really want to design. And I have a personal saying that passion is the process, and that's the most important thing, or one of the most important things you can have as a designer. And because we have such a passionate group of students and participants, I think we're helping shape the design industry by helping you be your best self, whether that be with the hard skills that you learn in your sketching or CAD class, or some of those soft skills that you might learn otherwise.
Ambitious. The instructors at Offsite are ambitious. And I do know this word died in the 80s with all of the yuppies, but we are bringing it back. I don't mean ambition for personal gain, I mean for the betterment of design and the world at large. Every instructor I've had the opportunity to talk to is working hard to ensure that design becomes more accessible, engaging, and meaningful, and all they want is for you to join that change.
Hey guys, it's Jack. Wanted to hop on and say that I've really enjoyed being an instructor through the Offsite program, and through this experience I've had the opportunity to see so many students come through, and the thing that has really struck me throughout this entire program is that every cohort is filled with students that are hungry, that are ready, that are really have a desire to learn this craft, and then seeing that happen, seeing them invest in themselves, and then over such a short period of time become a better designer. That's really just had an impact on me and just taught me that you really need to be hungry, you need to invest in yourself, you need to continue to push and to grow, and I think that's been the most impactful thing to me.
I think one of the best parts of Offsite is the variety of workflows that you're exposed to, and not that traditional academia doesn't expose you to various workflows, but there's usually more alignment in a curriculum and like focus on doing things one way, because you might not be able to absorb everything or be able to be exposed to everything. Our Offsite is 6 unique opinions that you're able to take whatever you want from and integrate into your process as you see fit. And that's probably my favorite part of Offsite.
I'm going to pause here because I really want you to pay attention to Dom's answer to this question. Then we'll circle back and have a short discussion on his response.
Hey, Offsite Summer Class of 2025. It's me, Dom, your favorite professor, and congratulations, you made it. You finally got through a program. Super excited. And to celebrate, Hector has asked me to make a video talking about one of my favorite aha moments in the class. And my favorite aha moment is basically how to put a stamped pattern on a curved surface that's changing in 2 different directions. And so for reference, something like a bowl. And we do it, if you remember in class, with this kind of fun, maybe slightly suggestive pad printing operation. So basically we have that fun blob, if you will, that's going to be stamped in the ink, then it's going to drop down, and then you can see it's going to conform to the curvature of that surface, which is changing in 2 dimensions, and going to leave us with a print that is placed perfectly on that surface. And works great for concave surfaces and convex surfaces as well. And so for me, it's always something where students ask, how is this possible? And then they see it and they say, of course, that makes sense. So there you have it. I leave you with that memory, and hopefully it stays with you for the rest of your life. It's been a pleasure.
So he kind of fumbled the answer there. The question was, do you remember a moment when you saw a student click or level up in their design? And of course, his response ended up being all about himself, classic Dom. And this is just evidence that I did message him and say, hey, please focus on the student. And of course, his response was, what kind of message is this? And I also had no idea why he sent me this video or why the file is 1.45 gigabytes. Like, what? Like, are you using an IMAX camera for this? So anyway, I put Dom's video last because I was just like triggered by his selfish answer. But be a sponge. I hope you were able to observe all of that valuable advice. One of the things I love most about working with these instructors is that they're just like you and me. Many of them are design directors, founders, principals, but you never know it because the way that they carry themselves, the way that they talk about other people. They don't lead with titles. Instead, they're humble, they're selfless, and they always put others first. Now, I'm going to shift our focus to our students. And I like to take a moment to highlight. I always want to highlight our student body and where they come from. This map highlights the global reach of Offsite, showing where our students call home. One thing I want to emphasize is the dedication that our students around the world, those who stay up late to attend Offsite courses while others are asleep, those who adjust their schedules because they recognize the value of a great education when they see one, those who work tirelessly to turn their dreams into reality. We see you, we acknowledge you. Greatness isn't achieved in the spotlight, and it's earned in the hours that no one sees. So before we bring up our alumni speakers, we've prepared a little something special for our Offsiders, our superheroes, I say, that stay up at night and work. Just as a thank you, keep pushing forward and keep striving for greatness.
Winner is my middle name.
I can't emphasize enough how hard it is for our students who are in the middle of the night and just investing their education. This is why I always make a big deal about our students abroad. Those of you in India, the Philippines, China, Europe, even if you're here in the United States and you work a full-time job and you're looking at our courses in the evening to catch up, I want you to know that we appreciate you and we see you. If you're one of our scholarship recipients, I'd love for you to show some love right now by dropping a heart emoji and just let us know who you are, because we do appreciate you and we do everything in our power to give back. So thank you for being here. I'm going to go ahead and now switch things over as we have a conversation with our alumni. It is a pleasure to welcome a few of our alumni to share their stories and reflect on their experiences here at Offsite. So this might be a little long, but sit back, relax, and listen in. Okay, hello everyone. Thank you so much for being here this morning, late morning, afternoon. Today we're celebrating 5 years at Offsite, and it means that we get to see all of you. We've got alumni from different cohorts and years, and we couldn't be happier that you made the time to come back, reconnect, and share your experiences with us. So we're going to jump right in. We're going to have a conversation, answer some questions, and make this as lively and honest as possible. So again, thank you for being here. Let's get started. We're going to kick things off with introduction. So I want everyone here to say your name, which year of Offsite you were part of, and what are you up to now? And we can get started with Chris, and then we'll kind of go around here. So
My name is Chris Ferentz. I was part of the first cohort of Offsite, and I'm now a designer at Viscom, working on new tools for industrial designers.
Hey everyone, my name is Blake Ballistry. I'm in Chicago, Illinois right now. I work at Thermos brand. I did Offsite in the spring of 2023. And yeah, it's a little bit about me. I actually joined Offsite because Lena, who's also in the chat here, recommended it to me. So yeah, small world, good community.
Hello, I'm Saloni Bedi. I'm an industrial designer at Loft Design, which is a design studio based out of Providence, Rhode Island. I was first a part of like an elective in 2022 fall, and then I liked it so much, so I did like the whole course, which was spring 2023. But yeah, super excited to be here.
Hi, I'm Yvonne Lynn. I was in the very first pilot cohort in 2020 with Chris and Becca, and I'm currently at Google working on augmented reality hardware.
Hi, I'm Becca Kay, and yeah, like Chris and Yvonne mentioned, I was also part of the first cohort, and I'm currently a senior designer at a San Francisco consultancy called Fox Clever.
Hi, my name is Mohammed Amir Safari. Everybody calls me Amir. I was part of the Spring 2022 Cohort 2 program, and right now I'm working as an industrial designer at Yeti.
Hi, I'm Lena. I was also in the Spring 22 cohort with Amir, and I'm a senior designer of eyewear at Garrett Light, California Optical, in between kind of LA and New York.
Hello, my name's Anna. I was in cohort 2, I believe, of spring 2023. And now I live in Portland, Oregon, and I work for Rejuvenation doing hardware design and home goods.
let's get started with the first question. And the first question is, what is a favorite moment or highlight that you still remember vividly from your time at Offsite?
I guess I could start. My mentor during Offset was so influential. It was during the fall of 2020, and there was a lot of uncertainty. And as I was between, taking a gap year in school, I kind of had a lot of time ahead of me and didn't really know kind of what that path forward would be. But the kind of mentor kind of forced me to explore these kind of like other kind of types of projects and really kind of go beyond what I was my initial scope for what I thought industrial design could be, to explore off into other kind of areas. And that kind of advice of like just taking a weird role or kind of going to some weird experience, and you'll never know kind of what will kind of happen from that. And I'm just so grateful for that advice. And yeah, still really, really appreciate all those conversations with that mentor from Offsite.
I feel if I can go next, I feel for me, I had like this form class with Mauricio, which I think before that I never knew how people went around making good forms. So I didn't know there was like a process to it, but the way he had like broken it down, the way he had shown us like how do you think about proportions, just like the structure of it, and like how you can think about something so ambiguous as form and like what is a good form. I feel that just like changed my perception of like how do people even go about it? How can I even go about it? Because I feel like that I haven't seen a lot of design schools do it, like explain how to go about making good form. It's just like, yeah, make a good form, but like how do you do it? I feel just like breaking it down into like week by week. And then I feel like just that whole process was just like very mind-blowing for me because it taught me so much.
What role did Offsite play in helping you land opportunities?
There is one lecture from Michael DiTullo in business class that was like life-changing for me when he went over org charts. And it was a totally brand new concept for me. And it's been just like so valuable for me in the job application process, but also every day on the job of just being aware of all the chains of kind of who reports to who, what are like the relationships between the different functions, and that being just I guess the questions I and conversations I had in interview processes were more impressive to the person interviewing me because it showed such like specific curiosity about the organization, and also better for me to see like, okay, like how if I were to land here, how exactly would I make an impact? Like what channels would I go through? How much influence do I really have? And that carries every day too. Just like working with cross-functional partners is like knowing the relationships has been incredibly important. And yeah, I would never have like known that if it wasn't for that class.
So I think when I started offsite, it was the first year of the pandemic. So is like freshly graduated, job searching. I had just moved back to the Bay Area from college, so I didn't really know the design community here very well. And also it was great because it provided like a online community for me to connect with and like feel like I was progressing at a time where I think we were all very isolated. And that's also where I met Yvonne, who is also in the Bay Area, and she connected me with someone who uh, their workplace was looking for an intern at the time. And she kind of connected me with them, and I sent in my work for review, and then I got the internship, and that's still where I'm currently working. So it ended up working out.
I have kind of a similar experience. I think I graduated in 2021 and I looked around for a job for a while and I was starting to feel really discouraged. Like the market was terrible. Um, and I was almost questioning, like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I love design and I felt like I excelled at school and like did a good job, but there's just nothing out there. And so I came to Offsite um, needing a confidence boost and needing to like polish up my skills. And I think that's what Offsite gave me, like really turned around how I present myself and my work and how I speak to other designers and like what questions to ask. Um, and that was like hugely helpful in putting me back out there and networking and, trying to get my work seen. Um, and yeah, that's like the takeaway that I tell everybody when they ask, like, oh, how's Offsite? It was like, it was amazing. Like, I really learned how to put my best foot forward. So yeah, that was awesome. And meeting cool people was also nice.
I actually didn't study industrial design in school, so Offsite was hugely helpful for me to kind of like pivot industries a bit. I started with a more apparel background, and so I didn't have the hard skills that industrial designers need for sketching, rendering, modeling, all of that. I was working much more in 2D. And so, yeah, this program really helped round out my skills and introduced me to all of the aspects of industrial design that I had been working tangentially to, but not necessarily implementing in my work. And so that definitely gave me like a huge leg up when I switched to eyewear, and continues to give me a leg up because it's kind of like an in-between field that people come from both sides to work in accessories, being the fashion side and the industrial design side. So having Offsite teach me those skills has really helped me to be like the best product designer possible and have a sprinkle of all education in there.
What advice would you give a current or a future offsite student if they're interested in coming to offsite?
I would say, of course, and I've heard this before, but like it is what you make it. As long as you're putting like all the effort in that you know want to get back, it's going to be great. I'd also say to like really push yourself to be uncomfortable, and get outside your comfort zone. I think I really learned how to like talk to different designers because sometimes that can be intimidating. And so, yeah, just like push yourself and try new things.
I would say mentorship is important in every level. It doesn't matter which level you are in industrial design. Good mentor is very, very important for you to just grow. You can accelerate that growth with the good mentor. So be mindful of the people around you, and if you can reach out for mentorship.
I would say make friends with the people in your cohort. They'll be your professional network for the rest of your career. And like everyone is awesome also.
1000% make friends with your cohorts. And I think just like being part and an active member of the community, I think is always helpful. Just to make sure that you're there for people that might also need that kind of feedback, or being always kind of a just active participant in classes. And I guess that's a little bit different from this question, but yeah, I think just being friendly, and again, that's what you're paying for, is the kind of the cohort and the studio vibe, right, of offsites. And I think it's just so important to maintain and continue it.
Yeah, I'd love to add to that. Yeah, just like being supportive too, in the Slack or outside of class too, like be an icebreaker, reach out to people, tell them, any advice that you have, tell them that you like their work, be supportive. Even if you're an introvert, like I would challenge the people going into offsite to like deviate from maybe their introverted tendencies, or even break away from their extroverted tendencies if they're too loud, and maybe take a moment to listen and absorb the criticism that's coming your way. And additionally, another thing too that I would say is that I think for a lot of people who choose to do offsite, um, some people might become overwhelmed with the workload. If that's the case, my recommendation would be to, try as hard as you can in the beginning, figure out what kind of designer you want to be, figure out what gaps there are in your skill set, figure out what classes align with those gaps, and maybe those should be the classes that you focus in on more. Like if you really want to become a better sketcher, um, maybe really focus in on that. Or if you're not great at key shot, that's maybe when you really want to sit down and really soak in what Tyler and Jack are throwing your way. So that's the other piece of advice that I would have, because I think that happens a lot of times. I think I was fortunate enough to be able to have the time and the bandwidth to really like sit down and do all of the projects that were thrown my way. But I know that for some people in my cohort, having a full-time job in addition to other obligations, like life just comes at you, and it's not always 100% feasible to do everything and be everywhere all at once. So
one small thing, if I can add, is keep your video on during classes because I feel that helped a lot. Just because I feel that helps a lot to be engaged and the other person, like the professor also to see that like, oh, people are engaged and just like have like a good environment. And I think you also pay more attention when your video is on, and I feel you're just more present.
I'd also say everyone has imposter syndrome at certain points in their career, and leading with curiosity kind of combats that. And so just bringing your curiosity to everything, being gentle with yourself, being gentle with others, but also giving good feedback, I think can make the best learning environment possible.
How do you think Offsite is different from traditional design programs?
I think because it's not burdened by the whole you have to have your like syllabus follow the accreditation and those like when you go through a regular four-year college, it's really hard to change course content. So a lot of stuff is outdated. So Offsite is able to be really agile and stay super up to date with current industry needs.
I think that having teachers who are actively working as industrial designers is huge as well. I think that in the standard, university design school environment, a lot of teachers sort of fall out of touch, unfortunately, with actual design practices. Like they might not really be, well versed in CAD anymore. They have like AutoCAD 2003 on their computer at home, and it's like no one uses that anymore for ID. And like there are all these tools and methodologies that are constantly evolving, and if you're not actively working in industrial design, like you're gonna, fall behind, especially if you've been out of it for a couple of years. So I think that like for design methodologies and approaches, like design schools can become echo chambers. And so having teachers who actively are working and are actively trying to better their own practices, try new tools, stay on the cutting edge. That's a huge advantage because they can then share that information, all those insights with students, and then keep students also on the cutting edge.
That's what I was going to say, Blake. Exactly. It was so nice having the teachers be in the work field. And I feel like my experience in undergrad was like, oh, we're working towards getting a degree and going through school. But I felt like the goal from Offsite was like working towards getting a job. And that felt like a different, just a different goal, I guess. And yeah.
I'd also say the global scope of the community is just unbelievable. Like the amount of perspectives and insight and just everything everyone's bringing to the table that's completely different, teachers and students. It will just being in around all the people will change your perspective and make you think new things and view things and new solutions to problems. And that is just not the same when you're at a local school, going to one place every day.
Right. And like everyone's in the same place in life of like 18, like ready to start, like a generally versus like again the diversity of like backgrounds and existing experiences like coming into like having this interest in design makes that really interesting. I think also just the accessibility of Offsite is pretty insane of like again the 4 year university versus being able to attend whether it's the advanced design conferences or a pretty reasonable rate, as well as the yeah again just amount of education in 12 weeks compared to with just for that it's so amazing for how much it's providing, and again like this community that never goes away.
I was gonna mention about the community, which Lena already talked about. But a second item that I was going to talk is what Chris also mentioned, that it was one of my biggest takeaways from Offsite is to learn about storytelling, how to communicate your idea easily, and with the best visuals and with the best words and with the best vibe, which is takeaways from everybody's class, you name it, like from Kat's class, from Kelly's class about the sketching, or from Jack and Tyler's class about how you communicate the visual, where you should focus, and how you should communicate your idea better so people wouldn't struggle. Because as Chris also mentioned, I mean, it's not just portfolio, it's an everyday task at work that when you have an idea or when you have to present something, it's those skill sets helps you to communicate your idea with the least effort, the most efficient way faster.
I feel, I don't know what it is, but I feel like everyone at Offsite, they're very passionate about what they do, which I think it's also like everyone's taking out time from their like like the studies like that are going on full time or work going on full time, and they're carving out this time to spend time on their skills, on their profession, on their career. And I feel like the professors are also there after their full-time job because they're passionate about teaching and like sharing this knowledge. And you guys also have set up this space because of that passion for design and design education. So I feel that's very infectious. Anytime I'm on Slack or in one of these calls or during the classes also, I feel I always leave inspired just because everyone's they like what they do and they want to do like a better job at it. So I feel that always is like a really nice space to be in.
Ready for the last question? And this is going to be very important. If you had to describe Offsite just using 2 words, what would it be?
Super helpful.
Collaboration and motivation.
Grounding and empowering.
Offsite is pretty cool, or like stay curious.
I think I'd say community, passion.
First is inspiring. Second is confidence.
Say worth it.
I think my 2 words would be growth and like infectious energy. I don't know one word for that, but yeah, those 2.
Thank you for being part of Offsite from the beginning. Thank you for believing in us. I don't know who mentioned it here. Someone said it quite well. It's like school prepares you for degrees, but they never talk about, hey, there needs to be a job at the end of this kind of tunnel. And students forget that. And it's kind of scary when I tell students that and their eyes are like confused because I'm like, what do you think was going to happen? Right? Like, so you guys really trusted us. I really appreciate you guys. And that's the reason why I specifically emailed some of you and even texted you, some of you, to invite you to be a part of this because I remember the impact that you all had in this program. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all very soon.
Thanks, Hector, for making the best program ever.
Happy 5
Good to
years.
see you.
Bye, everyone.
See you
Thanks,
guys.
Hector.
See you guys.
Chris.
Bye.
I hope our alumni insights provided you with a glimpse into what it's like to be part of this educational experience and community. We are now transitioning to our keynote speaker. It is my honor and pleasure to introduce you to our keynote speaker, Kevin Bethune. He's a multidisciplinary design executive, author, entrepreneur, and keynote speaker based in Redondo Beach, California. He is the founder and chief creative officer of Dreams Design and Life, a design and innovation think tank that uses a human-centered, holistic approach to help brands create meaningful and impactful experiences. With over a 20-plus year career blending engineering, business, and design, Kevin has held roles in mechanical engineering, footwear innovation at Nike, and various leadership positions. He's also a best-selling author. You guys should totally get those books because they're flying off the shelves with titles such as Reimagining Design, Unlocking Strategic Innovation, and Nonlinear, Navigating Design with Curiosity and Conviction, which was just released earlier this year, both published by MIT Press. Beyond his creative work, Kevin is deeply committed to mentoring emerging designers, expanding diversity in the field, and speaking globally. He's a board trustee at Art Center College of Design and formerly served as board chair of the Design Management Institute. And I'm going to go ahead and pause here, and I'm going to hand things over to Kevin. And I know he's here because I see him. So Kevin, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you for the generous welcome, and so inspired by everything I'm watching already. I want to take classes now. But kudos to Advanced Design and the Offset community for what you've created. It's been wonderful to watch at a distance, but a super innovative, disruptive, relevant platform for ongoing learning. So kudos to all of you, and Hector for your vision to see this through.
Thank you, Kevin. So I'm going to go ahead and just hand it over to you, and
let me share screen. Can you all see this okay?
Yep.
All right. So again, thank you for the opportunity to share some perspectives. I don't take that lightly, and especially considering the investments that you all made in your experience for Offsite, I commend you. So first off, just warm congratulations. Huge accomplishment, and especially to learn from the likes of the Offsite faculty. It's wonderful to see Datillo on here as well, old friend from the Nike days. But just sincere kudos for what you've invested. Um, it does mean something to invest in yourself, because ultimately we have to remember that no matter the brand, no matter the job that you have, it's ultimately your career, not necessarily the brand that you represent or that you're working for. It's your career ultimately. And to invest in your ongoing learning through a platform like Offsite, that's commendable, and also true to the spirit of owning your career path. So I'll just a quick anecdote, a few quick anecdotes about my background. I just want to offer just some context in terms of any perspective that I could offer. It's important to understand sort of the story of which that came from. So as Hector mentioned, I'm definitely functioning as a designer, design leader. A lot of my client partners are up and down the West Coast. Very thankful for the collaborations that I've been a part of to advance innovation forward. I've been running my own practice for the last 7.5 years, and very thankful for the experiences that has represented, all the feast and famine, the ups and downs of managing a business to serve client partners and the like. Very thankful for what the journey has revealed and provided. And then also having the privilege of codifying some perspectives through written word in the form of books. Very thankful for that as well. So, Reimagining Design, Nonlinear, those are two books that are never claiming to profess to have all the answers. My hope in codifying these things was just based on perhaps some experiences, nurturing design and innovation capabilities in spaces that hadn't necessarily understood the power of creative problem solving. These two books represent stories of the learnings that were had in those journeys. And the surprising pivot as I wrote both of them during the writing process was not fearing going to that place of lived experience to unpack what happened, what was happening with me personally and professionally, and sharing any perspectives that I could offer around the impact that design and innovation could have in someone's journey, as well as the collective team experience pursuing those objectives. And the feedback that has come from both exercises has been pretty consistent in that people appreciate not only the perspective around what design and innovation can do, but also having someone's lived experience serve as the foundation for those perspectives to take shape. And it ends up serving as a mirror to allow that person, the reader, to be able to see themselves a little bit differently by just listening or reading someone else's story. So it's like, ideally, it serves as a mirror to see yourself. And then also, it serves as a mirror to imagine how you might influence and lead differently with your skill sets moving forward as you engage different teams in your career. So that's sort of the rhyme and reason for both books. Reimagining Design, offering an argument for design at parity at the problem-solving table, and Nonlinear, unpacking what the journey feels like to arrive at that new and novel innovation that we're all sort of aspiring to unlock. Um, but if I take a step further back, I've I've been through a number of different multidisciplinary leaps, as Hector had mentioned. And again, any perspective kind of comes from that lived experience, personally and professionally. So I think, like many of us, at the early outset, I drew for hobby as a young person. But at the time, professional career in design and or innovation were sort of foreign abstractions, thousands of miles away from my worldview at the time. Um, I was raised for the better part of my childhood in the Downriver Detroit area in the heart of the automotive industry. So most of the neighbors were factory workers, business folks supporting those American brands and or engineers. And so those were sort of the pragmatic, celebrated paths around me. Design, innovation fell under the sort of the guise of art. For right, wrong, or indifferent, that was sort of the mindset at the time. And with the sacrifices of college maybe being, apparent, there had better been a pragmatic job on the other side of that investment and that sacrifice. So again, right, wrong, or indifferent, that was sort of the mindset around me at the time. So I started my career connecting the dots between drawing, math, and science, and started a path toward mechanical engineering. And there was one industry in particular, um, in this picture that you're looking at represents that industry. You're looking at an open reactor vessel undergoing a refueling operation where all the coolant in the system is actually flooding up into this Olympic-sized swimming pool. So when they actually take the lid off that vessel that you see, as the lid is removed, all the coolant in the system is flooding up along with that head, that lid. They put the lid over in a stand, but in order to accomplish the refueling activities, the coolant in the system needs to flood into this refueling cavity, and the water serves as an effective shielding agent to protect us workers above the water from the harmful radiation below. So when a plant's down from power and it's opened up like this, the fuel actually looks that way through the water. And we need roughly 40 feet of water between us and that fuel to protect ourselves from the dangers. So this was where I learned how to cut my teeth on product creation, physical product. I worked with a team that was advancing the hardware ambitions to extend the life of these operating nuclear plants with a specific focus on the reactor mechanical systems that help modulate the reactivity of the fuel. This next picture, much younger me on the left-hand side in hard hat and coveralls, working with a crew of highly talented technicians and engineers. We were affecting that hardware below. And oh, by the way, the metal that's sitting by the fuel is also radioactive after many years of use. So just the danger, the mission criticality, the opportunity cost when the plant's down from power in this realm was on the order of millions of dollars a day. So if you were upsetting the critical path schedule of that maintenance window, if you were done early, you were in trouble. If you were done late, you were in trouble because of that opportunity cost. It's very serious work. So I'm very thankful for, just learning how to cut my teeth on hardware in this environment, to learn how to work with high performing teams under that mission critical context, and just the invaluable learnings that provided. I'm very thankful for that. Well, to make things quick, I mean, a natural curiosity for business bled into that product creation work because I was just very curious about like why this project versus that. Why was it scoped and priced this way for this project versus this other one? And I felt, having purely a technical background, I lacked the language of business, and to be able to connect those dots was sort of missing for me. And to give my career a little bit more agency, I just sort of leaned over to the marketing side of the organization, to have my engineering expertise help inform those proposals that they were creating, and then I could learn sort of the language of business in that respect. That curiosity snowballed to getting an MBA, and then taking stock of where I wanted my career to go next. I didn't necessarily want to have an MBA change the course of my career. I loved product creation, but I ended up fortunately landing at a place where creativity could live alongside the best of business, the best of innovation and technology, and that was Nike. And to be able to enter that world, I feel very fortunate still. I started as a business planner, not the sexiest of jobs, out of B school. but literally sat one floor below the Nike senior executives, and our team was charged with rolling up the numbers to help the senior executives navigate how they handled calls with Wall Street. And the gravity of Nike's publicly traded situation definitely helped lock in the language of business for me and understand the mechanics of just business and how to keep a business viable. But with my product proclivities from my background prior, I started networking, meeting great folks of the likes of Michael Datillo, Jason Maiden, Dwayne Edwards, Angela Snow, just these heavyweight creative all stars in the Nike environment that gave me a bit more time than the regular coffee chat to just want to get to know my curiosities a bit more. And I appreciate folks like that that started opening doors for me to understand what creativity could mean for my career. I mentioned Dwayne Edwards specifically. He gave me my first shot to start to cut my teeth on learning like what design could potentially mean for me as this growing multidisciplinary professional. And the Jordan brand gave me some opportunities to design shoes under the mentorship of Dwayne, but to my design credits. And you can imagine the curious fire that was brewing, having been through a few of those experiences with Dwayne, the Jordan brand, which led to other open doors to cut my teeth to continue to learn creativity from some of the world's best in that stage. Um, I was approaching a fork in the road though, where I was noticing the world outside of a company like Nike also begin to appreciate this multidisciplinary convergence, and I wanted to position myself for that. And I could have continued to stay at Nike and claw and scratch and side hustle my way on more footwear projects. Um, but the way the world was moving, I saw a little bit of myself in that convergence, and I wanted to accelerate the positioning toward that aim, and really prioritize multidisciplinary innovation for the rest of my career. And as much as I love shoes, I wanted to work on all types of problems beyond perhaps just footwear. So at the time, I allowed the evidence trail of experiments to make a hard decision to leave an environment that I loved in Nike to go back to school. And I wish, when I reflect back at the time, a platform like Offsite existed. But I did end up deciding to leave Nike to engage in 2 more years of full-time grad study at Art Center College of Design. And around this time, though, Art Center had changed to start to appreciate multidisciplinary opportunities. And I thought it was the best place for me at the time to really build my creative leg of the three-legged innovation stool, if you will. And Art Center was looking to definitely teach us the practicum that is ID, but at the same time, they also were open to teaching us the multidisciplinary tool sets that would allow us to leave to serve as designers as change agents, designers as founders of potential companies, designers that could understand venture, designers that could engage with VC or potentially sponsor innovation as we rose in leadership in certain organizations. Um, I will say though, as I was leaving the nest of Art Center, it was difficult to talk to companies as a hybrid. A lot of companies didn't see me neatly fitting into a singular success profile, and that was hard to navigate. But 1 out of every 10 career conversations, I did meet like-minded folks that saw the same multidisciplinary future that I did, and I teamed with those organizations. And so after meeting some business partners in LA who wanted to like work together with me to attack this multidisciplinary thesis, the work that we started doing together, sometimes for pay, sometimes without pay, sometimes out of sheer faith, we attracted some very big global platforms that wanted to invest in our engine that we were creating. And that led to the final parent company in the Boston Consulting Group, a tier one management consulting firm, took a bet on us, and they created a wholly owned subsidiary around what we were doing, and they called us BCG Digital Ventures. And so it was a handful of us that started it. Um, we created a Medici sort of environment for all kinds of multidisciplinary innovation, and we were off and running. And as the creative co-founder of that engine, I started just reflecting on the designer's experiences as we were scaling. Started writing about that experience, the lessons learned, the trials and tribulations of what does it mean to have a designer acting at parity with having a seat at the table to inform where companies could head with innovation. Uh, Articles led to talks led to an invitation to join the TED stage in Milan to deliver a talk called the Four Superpowers of Design, where, of course, I stressed design's importance in the business arena, but it was also important, the bigger idea worth spreading was that it was also important to make sure that subject matter experts, designers in this case, had adequate breathing room to be able to do the deep work. And that design was so much more than the post-it notes that people might see in a multidisciplinary brainstorm, that we had to still give the experts the breathing room to deliver their best substance to the team room to propel it forward. So that was that opportunity. And the TED Talk allowed other entrepreneurs to get a sense of what I represented as a professional in the landscape, and they started reaching out for help. And I knew after many reach outs that it was time to consider planting my own flag and my company that I now call Dreams Design and Life, where I get to extend that runway from what I learned within the BCG environment to honing in on topics that were important for me as a creative professional. I wanted to focus on truly human-centric problems and then also bring the best of my physical creation and digital creation experiences together to focus on holistic solutioning. So just really quick anecdotes. Spent a lot of time with innovation teams in-house in larger organizations, as well as founding teams of startups trying to accomplish holistic experience plays. So whether it was working with Bay Area teams like that were forging the way in crypto during the pandemic, thinking about more advanced form factors that would take a lot of the friction out of the early experiences that we all had with investing in cryptocurrencies and then eventually NFTs, giving people a safe sense of form factors and digital services backing these cold storage wallets to give people a better and more safe and frictionless experience as they navigated the world of crypto. And the Kivo team is still selling hardware wallets to serious early adopters that are seriously invested in different types of coin. So that's been a fun one. And I represented myself as a fractional head of design for that venture and contributed all the ID and packaging work for it. To biotech venture, where I met a CEO that had incubated deep research in respiratory breath biomarkers for over 10 years. And she had learned to become a CEO and raising capital around her IP. The company didn't have a lick of design talent. It was all engineering and deep science. And we partnered together to build their design teams, their function, and to help humanize a lot of the different affordances around the nature of her work. So now members of this platform basically wake up every morning, they breathe into a device, and the science in their breath unlocks all types of insights of what's going on in their metabolic condition as well as disease states. And the ecosystem that we cultivated starts with the breath affordance, but it lends itself to applications, content, and human coaching that guide people to a higher plane of well-being. And then also having the opportunity to help old friends in Nike Innovation for a few years through the pandemic as we led up to how Nike could represent itself on the Parrish stage. So that's just some context where I can truly say that curiosity has been my defining thread through every chapter of experience. What I fulfilled was not part of some master plan. Initially, I'd be lying if I even suggested as such. But I hope you believe or at least see how much a fervent believer I am in the power of what it means to bring these different disciplines together around the table. I believe it is the currency that informs future innovation. But even bringing these disciplines around the table isn't enough. We have to think about the cascading consequences of every design and business decision on the broader ecology. Like in the spirit of shaping a better world, how are our decisions helping or hurting that objective? And that's not even enough. We have to unpack, if we claim to serve any target audience, we have to think about the role that societal imbalance has played with anything that we encounter, any opportunity in front of us. And for me, this is personal. I can only speak for me, but as a Black man navigating corporate America, I think about this all the time just from where I came from and the values that have shaped my family. And the next image is a difficult one that I'm going to share, but it's a memento from my own family history. It was an image shot by a reporter, a journalist back in the early 50s of my mother, who was like roughly 2 years old at the time, being held by my late grandmother. She was one of 10 kids, raised primarily in the panhandle of Florida, where the family came home from church one Sunday morning to have found their home had been burned to the ground by white supremacist aggression in the panhandle of Florida. overt assault on humanity. But at the same time, there were a lot of covert forces at play behind the scenes where government, local industries wanted to essentially intimidate Black landowning families from their land to make room for highways and infrastructure. You've heard of things like redlining, like this has permeated American history in so many different areas. And my family was personally affected. This was one story that miraculously made the city paper in the local area. But think about all the many stories that were not documented at that time that people had to deal with. So moments like these and in many other stories definitely inform the value systems of how we think about our roles today as professionals, hopefully shaping a better world. So all that to say, your lived experience, no matter where you come from, matters. It can deeply affect the creative work that you contribute to any team. When it comes to diversity, for anything, if you know any of my work or any of my writings, um, diversity is an important topic for me, just based on navigating a world that is the way it is by design. And we have to take stock in that. We have to take a pause to reflect on how that was informed and how we can make it better, especially in terms of how we bring different teams together around the table to problem solve and shape a better future. But I am very careful when I say diversity. I can only speak for me when I say that. I can't assume, based on my lived experience, to understand your lived experience or someone else's. We're all intersectional human beings. As a Black man, I can understand what marginalization feels like, especially when feedback or resistance I receive is coming from a subjective or unclear place, when it's not constructive, when it's not constructive critique, or it's not objective, when it goes to this other weird place and you're forcing me to ask, where is this coming from? I understand that aspect. At the same time, I'll say, as a male, when I come into the executive arena and I use my voice, I can, I'm definitely cognizant of the times when I feel like my voice is given a greater benefit of the doubt compared to my peers from other genders. I'm cognizant of that intersectionality. So you must know thyself. You must know yourself, where you come from, be proud of that, be aware of the intersectionalities, and just know that there's many different ways that you could feel like an other, quote unquote, in society as you navigate, and especially as a creative charged with helping to shape what is the future. You must know thyself, but have humility in how you engage others. So the first big perspective that I want to offer is this idea of maintaining an open aperture as you think about taking your learnings from offsite forward. So we talked about this type of collaboration, this type of convergence, and what it means for shaping a better world. But the question becomes, what does this team give us the ability to do? If we collaborate in that way, I think we can see the future. Imagine a looking glass looking at the distant time horizon. We can see the future through a number of diverse vantage points, from people interrogating like what people need, latent unmet needs, value criteria, how values are potentially migrating under the impingement of different trends, to industry drivers, and not just taking the way an industry or a business behaves as the status quo and we just take that as a given. Instead, asking hard questions of industry to say, why does that foundational assumption of how that industry behaves, why does it need to continue to be that way? Can we question it? Can we interrogate it? And in doing so, can we create an opportunity for innovation and or disruption? And trends and exemplars are just vectors of change that we observe in the landscape. The luminaries, the science, the deep research, the deal flow in terms of venture money and where it's flowing to, and exemplars being living proof of those trends that we observe. All those things can color how we see the future. You might have heard of pestle or steep in certain circles of design thought leadership. All these acronyms say is like we should think beyond just technology when we think about trends. We should consider in our work, no matter the brief, the societal implications, the tech implications, the economic, environmental, policy, energy related issues that are affecting the art of what's potentially possible. And the plus, you could add any other category that you feel will stretch our and open our aperture to consider a multitude of vectors of change. And the exemplars are are the research labs that we can feel inspiration from the MIT Media Lab to things that are happening at Stanford to other institutions around the world. We can take notice of what's happening and use that to inspire our work. Also, the luminaries that we follow, generative AI being all the rage right now. My own mentor in John Maeda, he started a cooking show on the Microsoft Developer YouTube channel where he's just getting people to get their heads around the ease of being able to prototype with large language models. So he created a cooking show where the guests get to cook with him and create prototypes live on their feet. And he's just trying to demystify some of the mystery around like how LLMs work by getting people less fearful to engage and experiment. Community is also an exemplar. Anytime I come to an advanced design or offsite event that Hector nicely invites me to, I walk away with so much inspiration and insight from the conversations. So you get to bring those inspirations into your work. So definitely make sure you maintain a connection to this community as you track forward, because you never know where relationships will lead and what can inspire the next project that you have. So through that open aperture, we can ensure no matter the brief that we can always surface a diversity of inputs. And we're basically priming the wheels to allow ourselves to make and our teams to make natural creative sparks and connections for any opportunity. And we can flow that diversity of richness of inputs, of inspirations to formulate new stories and solutioning that we can bring into any product development process, digital, physical, or a combination. That leads to the next perspective around this notion of embracing nonlinearity. So let's just recognize that what got us here, no matter your industry, what got us here isn't necessarily going to get us where we need to go in the next 5, 10, 15 years. So to create anything new and novel when it comes to innovation, especially, we got to be prepared to do something different. And no matter the design thinking playbook that you pick up, the design sprint playbooks, frameworks that are out there, that I feel all mean well in terms of how we navigate a creative journey. We just have to recognize that the reality is a little bit more chaotic. This is a sketch I made of like my reflection on like what it means to design, whether you're in the fuzzy front end or designing for an existing business concern, or if you're trying to fast track a prototype. Context matters, and reality is chaotic no matter what you embark upon. So, unfortunately, for a lot of businesses, despite everyone's good intention, we tend to get formulaic in our work. And I felt this when we're trying to drive innovation for different partners. If it worked on this one project, you want to replicate the same method on something the next 5 to 10 projects. And we tend to beat the risk out of the approach when we do that. So instead, especially when it comes to creating the new and novel, let's embrace this forest and ambiguity and play on the metaphor. Like literally in nonlinear, I drew almost like a map, J.R.R. Tolkien style, fresh out of The Hobbit, like in nonlinear, where it's like, okay, let's recognize the landscape for what it is. There are knowns and unknowns, points of saturation, but like how do we begin to think about embarking upon that forest of ambiguity? Think about a vector. If you've learned from your early math or physics classes, a vector is a point of effort in a given direction. So direction and effort. So if I'm going to learn something, make something, speculate something in that forest of ambiguity, how do I even get started? Well, let's just start by recognizing what you actually know. You might have data within easy reach. You might have perspective. You might have experts at your disposal. Take stock on what you know and just create a starting point. And then, like, what do you don't know? Like, what can you actually then investigate? And recognize there are a number of different choices of investigation that you can pull from to inform a discovery vector. What can you make? So maybe it's an idea, a solution, a prototype, but maybe you can be making a speculation, a design probe that evokes a better set of questions. Maybe it's not about the solution yet. Maybe you're designing a future context. So maybe it's not about a solution yet, it's about a future context or in a pluralistic sense, multiple contexts that we might have to interrogate. And then what can you learn from that exploration? We can use early quantifications, business insight that might exist, existing data to start to frame where in that forest we actually play. So we're not wasting our time, that we're using the best calories in the best place that will uncover new learnings. So again, there's different vectors that we can pull from that are quantitatively related as well as qualitatively related. And as we start to dig, as we map that forest, we still got to dig for the substance of what matters to people, the latent insights, the motivations, the unmet aspirations, the human idiosyncrasies. Usually that stuff is missing in my experience. 9 times out of 10, that deeper, thick data in the form of the clay is missing. And we need that to shape design. And so, again, we can pull from a number of different levers to inform vectors of investigation as we navigate ambiguity. And as we imagine solutioning against the needs that we find, people might need something different than what the business created yesterday. We could use acronyms. Again, it's not about leveraging the acronym formulaically, but like we can use frameworks like the POEMS framework to imagine the more holistic opportunity that could exist around someone's need. People have to engage people, other people in their day-to-day. They have to engage objects. From our ID pedigree, objects resonate with us, the tangibles. We have to navigate built environments, virtual environments. There's messaging as we navigate. Services, digital, physical, algorithmic, agentic services. So think about all the ingredients that are at play in someone's experience. And as we navigate that forest, we inform our vectors, we discover, we ideate, we pivot, we fast track, we circle back. Also, serendipity could have a role in terms of when variables are ready for prime time. We might have to wait. Waiting could be part of the deal when it comes to innovation. But through all these vectors of learning, we're building a knowledge base about a given landscape, about a given opportunity space that can inform, hopefully, ongoing opportunities to drive innovation forward. So just recognize that we have a lot more choices than a lot of businesses give credit for, and have that to inform our thoughtful creative journeys as we imagine what to innovate. And in doing that, we must break free from formulaics. One of my favorite computational artwork pieces is from, again, John Maida, and I interpreted his computational art as sort of this unfortunate paradigm that we're in, call it an infinity loop, where anytime I pick up my phone, I feel like I'm constantly being marketed to, no matter the channel. It's like marketers marketing, and I'm expected to consume. So marketers marketing, consumers consuming. And if we look at the world around us, clearly that's not a sustainable value proposition. We're going to get ourselves into deeper trouble than we're already in. So how do we break free from that and use our skill sets to better interrogate how we actually show up for people? Am I only expected to usher you through a market funnel with the expectation that you buy something? But instead, how could I really get a deeper understanding of your needs and show up for you in a holistic way that is meaningful? That's where I hope we can rechannel our creative skill sets to help shape a better world. So moments of truth is something that I think about all the time. Like, how are we showing up? As a designer, I could give you a sense of new utility through a solution that hopefully provides clear, tangible benefits. In an information-rich world, hopefully I do a good job of thinking about the digital service that's surfacing information that would convince you to keep using that path of utility that I've created through this affordance. So information relevance is part of the design of how do I give clarity, not more confusion and noise. And then how do I show up when it matters? So for this biotech example, illustratively, we keep a human in the loop on purpose, even if algorithmic services can provide some sense of insight through quantifications. Human beings are idiosyncratic, so members of the platform still might need to talk to a real human being to navigate a nuanced situation. And keeping humans in the loop can keep someone on the track, keep someone on the guide rails for having a meaningful experience as they move forward. So moment of truth, like, when do those things coalesce to really provide deeper sense of meaning in someone's life beyond just the financial transaction of selling a product? So I want to round the bend and just give you some thoughts around doing this work and what it means to start to build your sense of grit. Because let's be honest, this is not easy work. I'm sure you felt the challenge in your classes with Offsite. I'm sure you're probably feeling the early challenges as you think about navigating the marketplace for that next internship or job. It's not easy, but is anything easy, really? We live in a very complicated, connected world. Nothing's going to be easy. Let's just like take that as a given. But through our courage, we need to move forward. The job market can also feel like a dumpster fire, right? I feel it as a business owner, talking to potential clients who are all feeling a lot of anxiety right now, whether it's tariffs, geopolitical instability, layoffs, generative AI impacts, positive and negative. It's just a lot going on right now. But do we stop? No, we don't stop. We hustle forward, right? We hustle forward with courage. There's a lot of talent competing for maybe similar roles. Do we stop? Why not you? Like you still have to say, why not me? You're a unique person, as unique as a fingerprint, infinitely unique. Why not you? You have to tell yourself that. If not you, then who? So you might as well step forward and try, right? Be inspired by others, but don't compare. Comparison is the thief of joy, honestly. Find inspiration in others, but live your path, live your journey uniquely, be your full self. Imposter syndrome, we all feel it. I'm going to be 49 in a couple of days. I still feel it from time to time. But again, why not you? Why not me? Let's ambitiously move forward. And you can just know looking outside of your living area, your team room, your company, you look outside, there's so many points of cognitive dissonance out there. There's so many disconnections, things that are not working, things that play to marketers marketing, consumers consuming, these unsustainable paths. Just know your unique voice is needed in shaping a better reality. So take the step, make to know. Leadership isn't all about the alpha person beating their chest up at the front of the room. You making something, a prototype, a speculation, a sketch, has power, especially in multidisciplinary situations where with your VisCom abilities to be able to walk to the whiteboard and sketch what's happening for a room, that's leadership too. It's not just the alpha person projecting their voice. Your making will help us know where to go. At the same time, when you enter that first internship, that first company, or if you're mid-career, same is true. You have to master the fundamentals of what got that business to where it is, appreciate and respect that, and build trust in the process of doing that. So deliver on what's expected or what's asked of you. You still have to deliver because people need the trust that you can contribute. And it might take some cycles before that trust is earned. And you need trust first before you can influence or lead anyone to a potentially better way of doing things. And when you enter any relationship with a potential employer, there's a contractual expectation that the job that you get hired for will earn you money. A job translates to money. But there's a big difference between a job and a career. A career mindset, you want to leave that job better than when you found it. You want to appreciate what's being asked on day one and deliver to that, build trust, build relationships. But then you're going to find windows to eke your own influence to make that job hopefully better, that opportunity better and more enriched. So you start to create a career when you leave any job you have better than when you found it on day one. And trust begets the opportunity to lead one day. You all right now should always consider yourself as leaders, especially with these skill sets that you're leaving, informed by Offsite. But to lead anyone, to influence anything, and you can do that with any title, any level. You could be an IC, an individual contributor, and still lead. But to lead anyone or influence anything, you got to have trust established first. Just a few thoughts around, like when we talk about leadership, there's a lot of observable behaviors that we see happening in the marketplace right now that are honestly concerning. If I were to cross-pollinate observable behaviors where people are either in offensive mode and proactive, or they're on their heels reacting and they're coping with change, there's these observable spectrum of behaviors that you could track. And you juxtapose that against the nature of change itself. Change is hard, but there's a predictable sense of change, call that linear. And then there's runaway change, where it's like, okay, it's a runaway train and we don't know what's going to happen. And we call that nonlinear. It's exponential. It's logarithmic change. So what are the behaviors that we sort of see? What is the leadership archetypes that we're seeing out there playing out? And how do you self-reflect and say, what type of leadership am I bringing to the table in that respect? On the predictable defensive side, we do see things right now around like gatekeeping, risk aversion. We see protectionism. We see zero-sum thinking. For you to win, that means I have to give up something, and vice versa. Or there might be businesses having such a short-term mindset or myopia around like what they're getting after. And we've seen, unfortunately, in the last 18 to 24 months, design experience the subordination under more dominant voices and power players. So that's a set of behaviors you could debate. As I move right to the runaway change, things get a lot more weird, right? We see head in the sand behavior. We see disinformation. We see megalomaniacs asserting power versus an altruistic mindset. We see populism. We see generative AI looked at it as a threat, doom and gloom. It's all about layoffs. It's all about efficiency. Change is considered a hazard in this respect. As we move up, predictable, offensive, proactive. We do see examples where people are thinking about the broader holistic system, so system thinking. We do see a focus on making sure that we measure what's happening in a given business through metrics. Measure what gets measured gets rewarded, sort of thing. We understand the portfolio aspects of balancing risk and reward when it comes to innovation. There's chances where we see the glass ceilings crack to challenge the status quo, sort of pointing to the positive when we think about the proactive. But what I get excited about is when things get runaway, and right now I think we're living in runaway times, nonlinear times. I believe that we can bring our creative faculties together to widen the playing field. We can use making as a form of leadership, where through our experimentation and navigating the forest of ambiguity, our making can breed evidence that can inform new convictions. It can make us more confident and stoic in choppy waters. We can focus on the needs of our stakeholders through value creation, where design is considered an equal in informing what's happening with people as we think about solutioning for their needs. We can ideally move away from zero sum into more of a growth mindset, pluralistic creative opportunities, moments of truth over market funnel metrics. And then generative AI could be a positive in terms of helping increase the value of creative problem solving to allow us to do way more with less. And it's not just about headcount reduction and efficiency. So that's the hope that I'm hoping my arguments can drive in the marketplace, to give leadership a new way of thinking about their role, and especially as creatives, to think about our role as leaders in an evolving industry. So, final note, curiosity begets creative experimentation. Creative experimentation begets evidence. And when you hold up evidence, that can inform your convictions as you move forward. So stay curious, defy convention, maintain that open aperture, and embrace that nonlinear approach as you navigate forward. Thank you.
Kevin, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being an amazing example in our community. Thank you for being an amazing friend and for being here with us. When we were preparing for today's keynote, there was no doubt months back when we were thinking about who we were going to invite to be the keynote speaker. I knew immediately, I'm like, I have to ask Kevin. He's the guy. Just because of our relationship, our personal, just intimate conversations that we have about design. And sometimes, like you mentioned, I feel like I have the best job in the world because I have these relationships with these other instructors, and I get to share these instructors with other people, and I think that's pretty awesome. So Kevin, I really appreciate you. Thank you for being here with us and for giving your time to our community. We're going to wrap things up now, so give me 2 seconds as I prepare for this last part. All right. All right, so hope you're feeling inspired. We are incredibly grateful to have Kevin taking his time to share his unique stories and insights with us. Like he mentioned, I couldn't agree more. A true leader remains one despite not being in a position of leadership. That is 100%. And before we wrap up, we have a few announcements to share. And so the first one is we are offering our final batch of courses for this year. This fall, starting actually on Monday, we'll be offering 6 courses. And you all know who they are. A lot of these instructors have taught at Offsite before, and the only new course with a new instructor is Future Form with Mark Corbulli. Actually, the Future Form class is more of an experiment right now, because we are looking into the future of Offsite. Since we're celebrating 5 years, we're looking what courses can look like. So this is the first kind of beta test for this class, where it's going to be more of a studio course where you actually take everything you learn, and in 10 weeks you actually you walk away with a portfolio project or a project that you've essentially gone through the whole design process. That's what this course is about. And we're trying to see in the future if we can start opening more courses like this, where we start collaborating with actual agencies and companies to create these briefs for our students and designers. So if you're interested in further honing your skills, I encourage you to apply. Applications close this Sunday, and you can find all of our details on our website. You can also reach out to me or our team through Slack or our website. And the next and final announcement is I have to, of course, talk about Square One, which is right around the corner. For those who can make it, for those who are here in the States and can make it in person, we are going to be back to the Golden State. I can't say enough about Square One. We are so thrilled to host it again in San Francisco, a city renowned for its rich industrial design heritage. I assure you, this is going to be one of the best conference experience that you'll have for those who are showing up. Not only is it really cool and creative, but it's also extremely accessible, and you don't need to pay thousands of dollars to learn from other people or network. So I know sometimes that's an outrageous statement, but it should be the norm. So let's change that and make it accessible to everyone. So we're excited that we're collaborating with some of the top designers from studios. And we're very excited. For those who came to Square One last year, you know how amazing and intimate some of these lectures are. We really focus on the experience. We focus on you really taking it all in and not feeling intimidated by talking to other designers. Everyone's on the same playing field. So we're very excited for you to join us. This is just kind of a recap of last year's Square One, and you can see everyone kind of squeeze into these little spaces and a variety of different agencies opening their doors. So we're very excited for you to join us. Our commencement has now come to an end. We hope you gained valuable insights today and are leaving feeling inspired and excited. As we conclude this commencement, I want you to leave with one final thought. Remember that your direction is more important than your speed. For those who joined us late, there's this amazing video that you missed in the beginning that wraps up 5 years of Offsite. That video, I added it to the end of this presentation. So if you want to wait, kind of Marvel style, you'll see it at the end. Other than that, thank you. I love you guys. Have a great day. Cheers to Offsite. Ciao.